Okay, we're back in session. We recognize and support your right to come register your concern and appeal the appraisals that are given. Our duty is to hear both sides and make a determination based upon facts as we see them. The assessor must assess value at market value on all properties in Bannock County. The appeal process gives the property owner the chance to appeal said value before this board. If for some reason the decision rendered does not meet with your satisfaction, we encourage you to file an appeal with the State Board of Tax Appeals. Another option is the district courts. It is imperative that you focus on property valuation, not on protesting of taxes or people. I will have the Deputy Clerk, Nancy Allen, go ahead and swear those that are going to participate in.
And then raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So the way we've been doing this is there's 3 minutes for the appellant, and then we ask questions, and then there's 3 minutes for the assessor's table, and then we'll ask questions, and then we'll allow a couple minutes for rebuttal, and then the board will ask questions and have a conversation among ourselves. And please state your name and address for all of you, and your 3 minutes will begin.
My name is Rich Kirkham, 2055 Garrett Way, Pocatello. You did get a copy of our packet that we submitted. Under the rules of the hearing, I would refer to the second sentence, which says this value is determined by an appraisal process which includes analyzing construction costs, reviewing recent sales data, etc. And I would submit that even though we were able to sit down and work out a number of issues with the appraisers, we felt like we were still a little far apart on this one, and that they really did not determine its value based on an appraisal process, nor did they analyze construction costs, which we will submit. And the parcels they submitted were not recent sales, but just similar parcels. So on page number 3 of our handout, I'll just read through this evidence. We, the taxpayer, value this land at approximately $15,000 per acre. It's a 17.75 acre parcel of ground. It's adjacent to I-15 and is zone multiple use. But for development purposes, we as owners believe the highest and best use for this acreage would be to develop it into 3 to 5 acre parcel sites for large lots rather than to leave it as one parcel. The appraiser valued the land along there at a minimum of $1 per square foot, regardless of the lack of services to the property or the potential development costs. This seems to be a general valuation rather than a specific appraisal. They compared the parcel to the following 4 parcels, which are in the packet, and we show evidence as to why we feel they're dissimilar. But just generally, I would say the parcels are substantially dissimilar and not comparable because they generally already have access roads, utilities, and other improvements which need to be adjusted into the valuation of the subject property in order to compare them properly. Our development estimates for the land costs are approximately $82,000 per acre. We have a spreadsheet analysis below we'll go over briefly. This includes construction of a 3,000-foot access road that complies with fire department guidelines, trenching costs through existing lava rock, which is very expensive, to bring in the fire protection, the hydrants, water, sewer, and power utilities. Add to that a nominal cost for the bare land of $15,000 per acre, plus a developer profit margin of 15%, and the estimated final selling price swells to nearly $112,000 per acre. This price point is higher than other currently developed commercial lots, including those that have closer proximity to interstate entrances. Given the availability of other potentially superior developed lots in the area, the staggering investment cost, the low expected return on investment, the owners are just not interested in developing lots on speculation at this point in time. So we are submitting 2 comparable sales for your consideration. They're within a few miles of the subject property, substantiating that the maximum value for raw land, excluding...
Go ahead, finish your...
I'm nearly done. At this location could not be more than $15,000. That would be 3934 Jason, 2 acres. It is paved immediately off the I-15 ramp, sold for $95,000 per acre. fully developed lots, great visibility, and we have the comparable in the packet. Also, 2159 South Fifth, 2.19 acres, which sold for $100,456 per acre, located on a primary commercial street and has access to all city services. So our conclusions are that the subject property, if properly developed, could sell for as much as $95,000 or $100,000 per acre. However, given the few lots that have sold in the area, the development of this large parcel at this time with no end user in hand would, in the opinion of the owners, be very expensive investment with high risk. It might take many years before the lots would sell on speculation. So given the estimated development cost of the parcel, modest profit margin, and reasonable residual land value, we feel can't exceed more than $15,000. And you can see in the spreadsheet the cost for trenching lava rock, bringing in sewer and water and so forth adds up to $81,859. Add to that the raw land cost, which we believe should be about $15,000 per acre, a profit margin, and there you are at nearly $112,000. And the rest of the packet just substantiates the information
I'm going
we
to
have.
cut you off there.
Yeah,
Your time's up.
I have no more to present. Thank you.
Okay. Questions?
No questions.
Your 3 minutes.
Thank you. So the commercial department began a preliminary study for the 2021 assessment year where we took a look at commercial land throughout the county. And when we looked at the South Fifth corridor, the appellant's accurate that there's not a lot of reported sales on bare land every year. And so as we took a look back, we took a 10-year history to see, what has the market done in general over the past 10 years? Is it spiking? Is it leveling off? What's going on there? And so when we looked at the reported sales prices we had on record, it really looked like the minimum that stuff is going for per square foot on larger pieces is in the range of $2, but we didn't have time to complete a comprehensive study before this assessment drive. So we decided to set just a minimum rate anywhere throughout the county at $1 per square foot on commercial land. So we did a study to find how many parcels are under that. There were approximately 200 parcels of commercial land throughout the county that were below that rate. So we brought those up to that minimum with the idea that as we can conduct a more in-depth survey, those likely will go up beyond that. Now on June 14th, we did meet with the appellants, and they've been really good to work with. With any of these properties, we want to uncover any deficiencies the property might have. We discussed the cost for trenching to run utilities, that sort of thing. And so when we discussed it further after the meeting, we wanted to identify what potential negative impact there might be on this piece of land and to apply it in such a way that as this base changes year over year, a negative influence like that will still apply to this parcel. So we don't have to manually do that, and the appellants don't have to manually ask about it every year. So when we considered everything, we agreed to set a negative land influence of 20% on the parcel for the potential development cost that might be encountered there. And when we applied that, it essentially lowers for this year the rate to 80 cents a square foot. And so it brought the 2021 assessed value down from $773,360 down to $618,688. When we considered the other impacts, having a road, having an access road in and out, because it's a narrow parcel, it's a lot of acreage, but it's really long. And when we look at currently, the appellant owns the lots on the north and south end, so currently there is access and until anything changes, and that's one of our biggest things is what is the current status. So our recommendation would be that we do go with that lower value and apply that negative land percentage of the 20% to lower it to the 618 to 688.
Thank you. Questions?
So basically the questions we would ask would be why the assessment process, the appraisal process wasn't followed, but rather to have a factor of percentages of dollars placed against it. That's not what the law says it's supposed to be. And so we feel like that they have an overwhelming job. Frankly, 200 parcels underneath that limit and so forth, it's really hard. We feel like they did a fair thing in offering a 20% adjustment. We just don't feel like that really spoke to the entire cost of it. We're also looking at a parcel that went from $95,000 in appraised value to $773,000 of appraised value. We would love to sell it for that, frankly. But we just don't feel like the value's there at this time. And, you know, not sure exactly what the experience of the appraisers are with commercial property. We have a lot of experience with commercial. We work primarily with distressed commercial property, and that would address this one. This is one of the reasons we own it, because it's a distressed property.
Okay.
Okay. Comments, commissioners?
So we're tasked with the preponderance of evidence. I think you've shown that there is preponderance, that there is there's an issue with this parcel itself. The assessor's office has recognized that, but I think that what is it is the discussion then is the 20% or where it sits. Are there any utilities to the property right now as it sits?
We have an overhead power utility that comes in. It's only, I think, 100 amps. Certainly not enough to develop the parcel, nor would we want overhead power in there. We want it underground because the nature of the lots, they wouldn't want to be running cranes around and so forth and have overhead lines. So essentially, no, there are no utilities on it.
The other question is in the two parcels that you provided as comps, was there utilities to the property, or were they utilities, so they were fully developed ground that was ready to build, or was it ground that still needed to have additional utilities ran into the property?
No, they both had, there's photos there of the
These are the ones in the packet?
In the packet,
okay.
yeah. So that's on page 8. It's a paved lot, so it has been improved. There are all utilities in there. They actually had I think you would call it a double wide office on that parcel there. The other one, Rob, can you speak to that on page 9? Is it developed?
Make sure, if it's first time.
I'm Rob Kirkham. I live at 519 South 19. I'm also a realtor with Premier Properties, and so I pulled these comparables. There, on the second comparable, there was, according to the MLS data, there is power within 100 feet of the lot, and the domestic water and sewer are not stubbed to the lot, so no utilities on those.
Okay. All right.
But they are, it was right on.
It's on South Fifth, it just hasn't been stubbed and brought in. That was the question. So the utilities are within 300 feet probably of the property.
It's right across from the cemetery,
Okay.
next to Matkins.
So again, it goes back to the discussion and who's right. Yes. Both of you, there is properties that are underdeveloped. Even distressed properties have some intrinsic value that increases with inflationary costs and other things. We do see that. But to what level, to what, again, understanding the lava rocks when you guys went through the South Fifth connector and watching them blast and blow and do all that stuff. Those properties, and we've had them come before us, we have seen with that of what that takes. Now, we have to figure out where this is, so.
I'll just tell you where I'm at.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that have happened out that way, and there's a lot of businesses going out that way. So there's no doubt that the ground isn't going up in price. We've been at a very low rate out on that end, and I think that $1 per square foot isn't a bad deal, but at this time, I would go at 50 cents a square foot. It's a combination. Just knowing that things are continuing to grow out there, that'd bring us at 386, 680.
Okay. That's 50%. So you're saying a 50% negative land impact then is what that would be?
Yes.
Because a 20% land impact, we're at 80 cents a square foot, correct? So we're saying 50% of anything that you guys would have to improve would be it's a negative land impact because of the rock, everything, you can't even move into that. I'm okay with that. I mean, I think that's fair and reasonable.
So on parcel R, 401-300-6201, I'd make a motion that we adjust the value down to 386,680. You have a motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. I mean, that's our job, is to try to treat people fairly. You still have options if you don't agree with that,
No, thank you.
but,
We would point out that another issue that we have, all the lava rock's on the surface out there. So anybody that does buy land, not only do we have to trench to bring in services, but if they're gonna put in footings and foundations, they also have to trench lava rock. So it really is, I mean, we have had so many people look at that property, and then they drive down the street and they buy land from Casaritas where they can just dig dirt.
Yep.
It's so much, it's different than it appears to be, so to speak, on the surface.
And that's where I would say too, is that especially with this property, I mean, that puts it at about 22,000 an acre right now. That's, as all the commercial properties that come in, I think that's one of the lowest ones that we've seen in the entire county of all of what we have. But I would definitely say that any sales or anything, if you can give these guys more data, that's what's helping drive this. And the lack of data, because a lot of times we're a non-disclosure state, people don't want to put that in. If you guys have a deal or something that's going on, that's what they need to know, because when you guys do trench or do rock or do anything that way, that's what they're going to use to derive this, and that keeps these fluctuations from happening. Because unfortunately in the past, as I start looking at a lot of these, we just had 2 commercial properties that haven't had any, in 30 years, they've had 3.1% change in value. Which I don't know how we do that when these brand new parcels that developers build and put in then get nailed at the full value and everyone else's. I don't, that's the job of ultimately.
We know, we hear it too from them. And we understand their case, and it's like, well, then why didn't you buy our property and develop it? That's why, because it's a tough one to develop.
And these guys have got a tough road to pull. It's a tough job.
Yeah, I don't think they knew all this stuff till we shared it with them, and they were really, they helped us with several others, and everything went very cordially.
Well, hopefully you hurry up and get it sold and developed and add it to the tax rolls. So let's go get it. Let's get that done. Come on.
I knew you had an angle.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, we